Here to comment, Bon Jovi opposite band, John Bovi.
All right, yeah. Hey, Seth, what's shaking?
Bad to be French.
So you guys, for those who don't, you guys are a Bon Jovi opposite band. A lot of people probably don't know what that means.
Oh, yeah? Well, they will after they eat an earful of this. 2, 3, 4.
234.
Whoa, dude, what was that? No. You got to separate them, okay? They're the 3 separate numbers.
Okay.
Okay. All right, you got it? You sure? Okay, here we go. 2, 3, 4. Oh, we're all the way there. Oh, dying on a prayer. Give my foot. We will not make it, I do not swear. Oh, dying on a prayer. Dying on a prayer. Boom.
Oh, hope your ears have room for dessert.
All right, well, that's just wonderful. So why are you guys here this time?
Well, you know, we got a Christmas album coming out. It's a classic John Bovi with, a Yuletide twist.
I used to be an eighth Jewish.
Used to be.
I lost it after I was circumcised last year. I gave the rabbi a nice tip.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I get it.
Okay, all right.
All right, well, look, we're very excited. How about we hear one of these Christmas songs?
No! And by no, I mean yes. You ready? 2,
Joe,
3,
stay,
4.
Sandra.
Whoa, what happened there?
I did it in Spanish.
Yeah, I noticed. You mind hopping back over the border, muchacho?
Okay.
Okay, all right, here we go. 2,
2,
3, 4. Stabbed in the butt. I am to blame, darling. You give hate a good name. Oh, Christmas.
Sorry, just to check your work here, the opposite of shot through the heart is stabbed in the butt?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, just checking.
Yeah. No, now here's another tune off our Christmas album.
Okay.
It's from our Heart opposite
Heart?
band. Yeah, Heart, which we called, if you...
Let me guess, butt?
Oh, you've heard of us. Yeah. Well, then you're going to love this one. It's the opposite of the song Alone.
It's called Groups.
Yeah. All right, ready? 2,
Oh, Joe,
3,
stay,
4.
Joe.
Dude, why do you keep doing that?
Oh, sorry. Guess I got Spanish on the butt.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, let's just do it in English, okay?
Okay.
Okay, ready? 2, 3, 4. Till now, I never got by on my lease. You always never cared until I met me. And then it heats me to the cartilage. How do I get you in groups? How do I get you in groups? Group sex. This song's about group sex. Christmas. Santa's birthday. Santa's birthday.
Can't help but notice kind of a pattern here.
Oh, yeah?
It doesn't seem like you're doing Christmas songs. It seems like all you're doing is tacking the word Christmas onto the end of your songs.
What? What are you talking about? Oh, that is some left brain BS. You know what? That's a fair hit.
What a good
Fair hit.
listener.
You're a good hit. You're a good listener, Seth. Yeah, no, okay. Well, hey, how about this? You know the song Love Lift Us Up Where We Belong by Jennifer Warnes and Joe Cocker? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, good. Well, this is our version from our opposite band, Jennifer Peaceness and Joe Cocker.
Wait, Jennifer Peaceness I get for Jennifer Warnes, but no opposite name for Joe Cocker?
No, his name is perfect. Okay, ready? 2, 3, 4. Hate lifts us down where we be short, where the turtles crawl on a coca-sober Christmas. Hate lifts us down where
I'm
we
sorry.
be short.
I was kind of with you guys.
Okay, we're in the
right
middle.
up until Coca Sober.
Right.
Coca Sober. How is Coca Sober the opposite of Mountain High?
Yeah, no, I'll walk you through it. Okay, so here's the thing. Sober is the opposite of high.
Uh-huh.
You know, we all know that. We do it too well.
Yeah.
And The opposite of mountain, which is the first part of Mountain Dew, okay, is Coca, which is the first part of Coca-Cola. Right there.
I'm sorry, but that's ridiculous.
Oh, okay. Oh, what? You would have gone with Mr. Pibb? Let's give it a shot. Okay. On a Mr. Sober. Yeah, that's great. Good note. Good note. Hey, who's up for some Sprick Greenfield? Huh? 2, 3, 4. I wish that I had Jesse's boy. Do 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 do. I wish that I had Jesse's boy. Do 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 do. Why can't I tongue kiss a dude like that? Christmas.
John Bowie, everybody! We'll be right back with more Late Night.
Now it's all the same. Only the needs will change every day. It seems we're wasting away. I know a place where the faces are so cold. You travel nights to get back home. 'Cause I'm a cowboy on a steel horse. I want it, dead or alive. Want it, Thank you. God bless. Bye-bye.
Andrew, I'll be there for you. These 5 words I swear to you. When you breathe, I want to be the air for you. I will be there for you. It is America's #1 bi-coastal podcast featuring 2 annoying Jews. We are nothing worthwhile. Andrew, do you know the #2 bi-coastal podcast featuring 2 annoying Jews?
I do not. Is there one?
It's a Sheppy and Sons. They do it's antiquing. It's
not the Russ and Daughters.
No, it's Kosher Kathy and Stacy. Well, anyway, on the West Coast, in the pleasantly warm city of Phoenix, Arizona, your host and moderator Evan Moody. On the East Coast, in the humid, dank, and wet, and I am not referring to Groo's underwear, in the great city of Coral Springs, Florida.
I beg to differ.
Well, how are things going?
Well, it's definitely dank and wet and disgusting. Either way you slice it, everything's fine. I mean, it's horrible, but it's fine. I mean, how could it? How do you describe it? It's just quarantining and only going out for essentials. I'm basically in the house 99% of my day, which is really only up 10% from my usual routine. So it's not
like essentials like I don't know, Deanie's Hideaway, Crank in the Box, Booby Trap.
Hey, they're very cheap right now. the rates are wonderful. So. I've got no problem with it. But yes, everything is as good as it can be. That's really the only way I can describe it. What about you?
As we said off air, it's sort of all the days are bleeding into one. I'm trying to keep a positive mental approach, and some days are a little better than others. Friday after work, I was kind of sluggish and lay down, took a little bit of a nap, feeling a little bit down, but trying to get out there, get a little exercise, FaceTiming with the family, and watching a lot of TV, a lot of streaming, obviously some WWE Network, and like everybody else, just trying to get through it.
I've been watching a lot of on YouTube, a lot of old WWF, like the Saturday morning shows. I just run them on a loop, and they're fun. They're fun.
It's funny that you mentioned it. I've been watching a lot of this Vice Dark Side of the Ring episodes on YouTube. I just watched the Jimmy Snuka a couple of days ago. I read it. It wasn't very highly rated, but I watched Jimmy Snuka and the Fabulous Moolah, which was very interesting. It goes back to that couple of years ago when they named it the Fabulous Moolah
Battle Royal,
and then they had that outcry, and the WWE removed her name from it, and I had not known to the effect of the allegations. And again, it's important to say these are allegations against her and her husband or her boyfriend, part-timer, whatever it was. But interesting stuff nonetheless. And we know that wrestling's got a little bit of a seamy underbelly, right?
Yeah, and I like the shows. I haven't seen them all. I haven't seen the Benoit ones. I know there are 2 of them. Haven't seen them yet. Haven't seen the Snuka one yet, but I did watch the Brawl for All one, which was fascinating to me.
That one.
That's fascinating. That's fascinating to me. And I watched all the ones from the first season, from the Macho Man Elizabeth, the Montreal Screwjob. There's good stuff there. The only thing I don't like about it, and it's like those old those unauthorized biographies where they like reenact things, and they have like sort of actors in silhouettes playing. Like, it distracts from it. I'd rather hear the people talk about it rather than, I don't need to see what I already saw, or I don't need to see something that nobody else saw. Like, it's distracting. But other than that, with the interviews that they get and those after shows. Have you seen the after shows?
No. No, not at all.
They've been doing remote interviews, like somebody. I don't know if it's live or after the premieres. Look like I don't know.
Are these on YouTube?
No, they're on Vice after the premiere of each of the episodes, and like for example, after Brawl for All, a host had Vince Russo and Bart Gunn and a couple other guys like live via Zoom or something, and they were talking about what they had just watched. So I'm sure there's a Vice streaming thing you could find those things on.
Yeah, I definitely want to see the Brawl for All, because it was definitely an interesting concept. But speaking of WrestleMania, Andrew, let's scale back to our last podcast. Excuse me, it was a wrap-up of Night 2 of WrestleMania. Groo, WrestleMania was considered by most in the mainstream to be a success, or even a rousing success. Jim Ross called it a miracle performance. Any final thoughts as we wrap up? Our last couple of shows were with the WWE and WrestleMania. Any final thoughts first on the 2 nights of WrestleMania?
Just what I said last time. I think night 1 was better, but night 2 was very good, and it was definitely quality wrestling, quality entertainment. There wasn't really anything to crap on, as far as I'm concerned. And if there's nothing to crap on, that's a good show these days. You know, I liked it.
Speaking of the WWE, certainly a microcosm of what is going on in the United States right now. Middle of the week, some 40% of the WWE workforce were reportedly outright released or furloughed. RingsideNews.com reported that Vince McMahon was quote-unquote sick over the cuts. Most notably, the OC, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, who were featured at WrestleMania in the Boneyard match, were released. Add to that the death on Thursday of the original quote-unquote first employee in the Vince McMahon-led era of the WWF, the Fink, Howard Finkel, ring announcer and road agent who died at the age of only 69. Such a shame. Tough way to end the week for the WWE.
Yeah, it was, look, with the layoffs, you knew that was going to come. I questioned some of the choices, but what do I know? Because who knows who's getting paid what? It was obviously a fiscal thing. So I could say, well, how could they release this person but keep that person? Well, if they're paying that person $5 a match and this person $1,000 a match, that's why, things like that. But Howard Finkel, he's someone who everyone recognizes, whether they know his name or not, because his voice is so instantly recognizable, and his, from the Madison Square Garden days. I know he had been ill for the last year of his life. He had a stroke a year ago, and he had been in a wheelchair ever since. There are some pictures of him recently. So even though his death came as a shock to us, if you go back and look, you'll see that he was in declining health. It wasn't like he just kind of dropped. But either way, it's a big loss, without a doubt.
Yeah, I think my last memories of the Fink would be in Legends House.
Yes.
As a cast member of Legends House on the network. You mentioned something about the cuts. Was there one or two names that pricked your ears up? And you went,
yeah, well, you know me. I'm a Rusev mark, so I'm trying to figure out why they would release Rusev, who is over with the fans, who is, by all accounts, a great worker, always gets a response, so they let him go. But his wife, Lana, who's just kind of taking up space, granted it's, nice viewing space, but she stays, but Rusev go. I mean, that I don't get. Like that's one particular one that I pointed to. So like, why are they I guess, but like you said, either last time or a time before that, like Rusev must have pissed somebody off because they've been keeping him off TV or something. But that's the one that really stuck out to me. But also the Gallows and the guys with AJ Styles. I mean, these are guys who were in not the main event picture, but they were on TV every week. They were a part of a major storyline, and now they're just gone. And yet you got people there who, no doubt, people will complain about as the time goes on.
Yeah, I think
I'm surprised I haven't heard more of that yet.
Anderson and Gallows, though, I would think for the last 2 or 3 years that they were with the WWE, but they weren't used well. They have such a massive roster, and they probably needed to thin it out anyway. To this extent, listen, I feel bad. Obviously, that's a lot of jobs. They also were referees, road agents, producers, writers, and actual members of the
Hall of Famers. Hall of Famers, Kurt Angle.
Yeah, but he was working as a backstage agent, so they're not running.
True.
They're not running live shows anymore, so you don't need all those guys. I think that from what I've read, if they get back up and running, there's a chance to bring back some of the names back.
But, here's another one. Let me ask you. Okay.
Go ahead.
Let me ask you. Would you have kept Rusev or any of those other guys over Cesaro? Or Cesaro, however you say it, who has been repackaged 19 times since the start, and nothing has really worked. He's still there.
I'm a Cesaro mark. I like the guy. I still feel he could be the greatest. But look, your points, I understand it. I like Cesaro. I don't think he's any worse, though, than Rusev. Rusev was a guy that was been repackaged. Remember, Rusev was the Bulgarian Brute, big foreign heel, lost again to Cena at WrestleMania, lost some of that steam. They repackaged him as a comedy gimmick, which was really where he got a lot of his heat, the Rusev Day, and then they kind of repackaged him again with this silly but somewhat entertaining feud with Lashley and his wife and his wife Lana. So listen, the repackaging, that's the life of a WWE superstar. If you don't hit, luckily, they'll bring you back and try doing something different instead of just releasing you outright. So some of these guys and these girls, they'll take them off TV for a while and try to repackage them to see if it hits.
Yeah, well, either way, we move on.
Well, it's a shame, but Andrew, what's not a shame is Slippery When Wet, Bon Jovi's seminal classic hair metal album. Slippery When Wet is the third studio album by Bon Jovi. It was released on August 18th, 1986 by Mercury Records. It was produced by Bruce Fairbairn with recording sessions between January and July of 1986. This album was featured in the 2005 book, 1001 Albums You Must Hear Before You Die. In that particular book, before we get to Bon Jovi, what artists, I wanted to see, just a quick fun trivia, what artist led the way with 9 albums on the list of 1001 albums you must hear before you die?
What artist?
What major rock pop artist do you think got 9 mentions on the 1001 albums you must listen to before you die?
Are we talking artist, or could it be a band as well?
It's an artist, a solo artist.
Solo artist. 9 albums in the top 1,000.
1001, yes, sir.
I would say it's either Elton John or Bob Dylan.
Not bad guesses. It was David Bowie.
David Bowie.
Yes.
Interesting.
The boss, Bruce Springsteen, got 5. I don't know which 5, but he got 5 albums on the 1001 albums you need to listen to before you die. Billy Joel got a cough.
Well, I hope he covered his mouth.
Yes. Right.
Seriously? No, there's no way Billy Joel got nothing on that list.
I didn't see anything for... I wasn't looking, but I know that Bruce got 5 album mentions, but David Bowie had the most in this book at 9 albums mentioned.
Then if Billy Joel's not on there and it's only artists, then that's a bullshit list.
What besides The Stranger? What
Nylon Curtain, Innocent. Come on, man. We went over this in the Billy Joel podcast. That's flawed. That's flawed. And I love that Springsteen got 5, but without Billy Joel on there at all, I got to question it. But good for David Bowie.
Yes, let's not question that the prior Bon Jovi album, 7,800 Degrees Fahrenheit, which was released in 1985, had some success, Groo, but Bon Jovi had not yet and were not yet considered rock and roll superstars. Groo, you may remember that 7,800 Degrees Fahrenheit had their hit from the album. Remember, In and Out of Love.
That wasn't.
In and Out of Love.
Which album was Runaway on?
The first one. I think it was Bon Jovi.
It was called Bon Jovi.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Bon Jovi openly changed their approach for Slippery When Wet. They wanted a more mainstream sound than the heavier one of its first two albums. They hired Desmond Child as a songwriting collaborator. The band wrote 30 songs and auditioned them for local New Jersey and New York teens, basing the album's running order on the teens' opinions. And I found that kind of interesting that Bon Jovi essentially was doing a customer survey back in the day on feedback of potential songs. So I say to you, Groo, John Bon Jovi always seemed a little bit smarter than the typical hair metal guru. Don't you think?
Yeah, well, I remember when Bon Jovi came to our elementary school and did a show and tell, and he played Wanted Dead or Alive and I'd Die for You. And, they were fabulous. No, that does sound like something, John Bon Jovi, even back then, with the big hair and the teenage mentality, you could tell that he was kind of looking back, you could certainly tell that he was an astute businessman. I think he knew what would work. He knew what the best moves to make were. And I think that's a testament to their longevity.
Absolutely. Another big name, another big name associated with Slippery When Wet was Bob Rock, was named as the mixer for the album. So you have Bruce Fairbairn, Desmond Child, and Bob Rock. Bruce Fairbairn was a well-known music producer who got his start in the 1970s. His early claim to fame was with the band Loverboy, and then moved on to produce Slippery When Wet. So, Groo,
that's quite a resume right there.
Well, let me give you an all-star list of some of Bruce Fairbairn's albums produced. So we've got, besides Slippery When Wet, 1987 Aerosmith, Permanent Vacation, 5 times platinum.
But wait, let me just interrupt you. What about before? Before Bon Jovi? Was just coming off of Loverboy? So most of his... Okay.
Yeah, work with me now. 1980 Loverboy,
right.
2 times platinum. 86 Slippery When Wet, 12 times platinum. Mm-hmm. Aerosmith, Permanent Vacation, 5 times platinum. Aerosmith again in 89. Pump. 7 times. Was that Janie's Got a Gun?
Good question.
Love in an Elevator? Was that Love in an Elevator?
I think that was Ragdoll.
Okay.
I think Pump was Ragdoll. But you know what? The only song I know definitively is on Permanent Vacation is that Bon Jovi-ish ballad Angel. Which for some reason still makes me cry. But we'll go there some other time.
I wouldn't mention that in open public airwaves.
All right.
1990, AC/DC, The Razor's Edge,
Ooh,
5 times.
Now that's one of their best albums right there.
That was Thunderstruck.
Yes, that's Thunderstruck. Money Talks. That's an excellent album. A very one of the best produced AC/DC albums. They have a great sound on that record.
1990's Poison, Flesh and Blood, 3 times platinum. I think that was Give You Something to Believe in.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Yeah, that was a huge hit.
He produced AC/DC's live album in 1991, 3 times platinum. 1993, Aerosmith's Get a Grip, 7 times platinum.
Get a Grip was Living on the Edge and Angel and Crying. Was that?
I think so. I'm not a huge Aerosmith guy. 1995, Van Halen, Balance, 3 times platinum. I can't stop loving you. I like Boys. Anyway,
it's not enough. Get your ass out of the door.
Yes. 1996, The Cranberries, To the Faithful Departed, 2 times platinum. Mm-hmm. 1997, INXS's comeback album, Elegantly Wasted. INXS had to pay Bruce for that one. No times platinum. 1998, I remember this one as a bit of a comeback album for Kiss, Psycho Circus, that went gold.
I do remember that, yeah.
And then his final was 1999, Yes, The Ladder. Reportedly, Bruce Fairbairn was found dead by Yes frontman John Anderson as he died during production. So, Groo, a fun list, but just to give you an idea of Bruce Fairbairn's resume. As we stated earlier, Groo, Desmond Child was brought in as a collaborator with Bon Jovi. Mm-hmm. Desmond Child is an American songwriter and producer. He was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2008. So, Groo, let me give you some of the who's who in the songs that Desmond Child has either written or co-wrote. Kiss's I Was Made for Loving You.
Was that when Kiss took off their makeup?
Was that the whole Lick It Up?
I think so, yeah. That was like the MTV era Kiss. But that's a good song.
Yeah. Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, I hate myself for loving you. Clap, clap.
See, already the first two songs that you just gave me could very easily have been Bon Jovi songs right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's got a bunch of Bon Jovis, but besides Slippery, he's credited with Bad Medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Aerosmith's Dude Looks Like a Lady. Angel.
Classic. Wow.
What It Takes, and Crazy.
Ooh.
Alice Cooper's Poison.
Good song.
Even better, Michael Bolton's How Can We Be Lovers?
How can we be lovers if we can't be friends? Oh my God.
As my dad says, the guy yells for a living. He doesn't sing.
These are hits, man. Bolton had a string of hits in the mid-'90s, which he was unstoppable.
Wasn't he kind of like a hair metal guy originally, sort of, and then they kind of repackaged him?
I think so. I definitely think so. I don't know, I don't know exactly the history. I just remember those. He's the kind of guy that I would never in a million years go see him in concert, but if he's on the radio, I'll keep it on.
Roll up the windows.
I'll keep it on. I said I loved you, but I lied. I love that song. Because this is more than love I feel inside. Oh, I'm crying right now.
Well, also Ricky Martin's Living La Vida Loca.
What? Desmond Child helped write that? This guy must be a multi-billionaire.
Yeah, he's worked with Kiss, Cher, Bon Jovi, Bonnie Tyler, Dream Theater, Ricky Martin, Selena Gomez, and Kelly Clarkson.
What did he write that Bonnie Tyler did? I thought Jim Steinman wrote all of her songs.
Well, speaking of Jim Steinman, Desmond Child produced and co-wrote 6 of the songs on Meatloaf's Bat Out of Hell 3. The Monster is Loose.
Yeah, because Steinman was sidelined. He was ill.
Yeah.
So, Steinman was sick.
That just sounds like a bad sequel overall. It's almost like...
No. Well, compared...
Please don't sell me that was anything of...
the album itself, like if you're... Are you there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, oh, you froze for a second. The album, and I know we're not talking about Meatloaf here, but the album Bat Out of Hell 3 as a narrative doesn't even hold a candle to the other two. But there are some excellent songs on that album, several of which were actually originally recorded by Jim Steinman himself when Steinman wanted to be a solo artist.
So I don't understand. Did Desmond Child rewrite these songs, or they used those Steinman originals?
No, I'm sure they used the Steinman originals, but there were only like 5 or 6 of them. So, and there are, I think, 10 or 12 songs on the album, so I'm sure Desmond Child. I know the title track, The Monster is Loose, was written by Desmond Child, and it's a really good song. I suggest you give that album a listen. You'll find some gems on there, without a doubt.
All right, I will go on Apple Music after this. Yeah. As we said, Desmond Child was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2008. A couple of other songs.
And who found him dead?
Apparently he's still alive.
Oh, thank God.
Wikipedia, but he also wrote or co-wrote Cher, Just Like Jesse James.
Oh, my God. That could be a Bon Jovi song, too.
Speaking of Bon Jovi, This ain't love song.
Oh God!
I love that song. I love that. There you go.
By the way, I just before we go further, I'm curious because you opened this up with your opening monologue by quoting a song by Bon Jovi that was not from Slippery When Wet.
Of course, it was from New Jersey.
Yeah, I know. I found
that.
And it worked. I was just surprised.
Okay. He also wrote Clay Aiken, Invisible.
And there's the shark, and there's him jumping right over it.
Yeah, you know what Clay Aiken for, as Lisa Lampanelli said.
And
of course, my favorite Sebastian Bach, subtly titled Falling Into You.
Yeah. All right, Desmond. Time to
one last name of note, Groo, that I want to discuss was Bob Rock, who I stated earlier was brought in to mix the album. Bob Rock is known of Metallica fame. Bob Rock is a Canadian musician, sound engineer, record producer, best known for producing rock bands and music artists such as Metallica, Aerosmith, The Cult, Bon Jovi, Motley Crue, 311, Our Lady of Peace, Bryan Adams, The Offspring, Michael Bublé, and David Lee Roth. In 1990, Bob Rock produced Metallica's best-known 16-time platinum self-titled album, The Black Album. Rock subsequently produced Load in 1996 and Reload in 1997. Bob Rock also produced some of the new material for the Metallica's cover album.
Speaking of Load, what?
Garage Inc. in 1998. My favorite being, I don't know if you've heard, Metallica's amazing cover of Bob Seger's "Turn the Page."
Yes, I've heard that. I mean, it's note for note, but it's still really good.
Though. It's good.
Yeah. Is Bob Rock the real name of that WWE champion, Man Mountain Rock? Remember him? Same guy.
I mean, we've got I think a half a podcast of Man Mountain Rock. For some reason, I always remember joking around with you. We were the only two who got the inside jokes for Man Mountain Rock. A pretty ridiculous gimmick, yet somehow if he won the belt, we would have been right there.
We would have been. We would have marked out like crazy. Yeah, crying.
When Jason Newsted, Metallica's bass player, left in 2001, Bob Rock wrote and recorded all the bass parts on the 2003 Metallica album Saint Anger. Bob Rock was also featured prominently in the 2004 documentary film Metallica, Some Kind of Monster. Mm-hmm. The film dealt with Metallica's internal strife and their struggles with the creative process during the recording of Saint Anger. So, Groo, there you have it. Not big names at the time, but a lot of big names looking back in the production of Slippery When Wet. I mean, three really big names.
Absolutely. They definitely seem to have this album definitely. Well, if you look at, I mean, we're going to go through the album song by song, but if you look at it, I mean, you've got, I don't know how many songs are on the album, but you've got 10, at least 6 or 7 must have been hit singles. When you're coming off of that, you're going to have a career, and that's what this album did. I mean, there's not a dud on this album. That's the thing.
Well, we're going to talk about it.
At least
I sat and I listened to track by track and I took notes.
Okay.
Like you, it's probably freestyling it, but I actually listened and took notes. But let's get to the album's name, Groo, Slippery When Wet, was actually changed during its inception. Its preliminary title was Wanted, Dead or Alive, and the proposed cover had the members of Bon Jovi dressed like cowboys, which was later used for the single Wanted, Dead or Alive. So, Groo, we've heard about this before. According to Bon Jovi lore, Bon Jovi named the album Slippery When Wet after visiting the number 5 Orange Strip Club in Vancouver, British Columbia.
That's where I get all my ideas.
Well, according to Richie Sambora, quote, "This woman descended from the ceiling on a pole and proceeded to take off all of her clothes. She got in the shower and soaped herself up. We just about lost our tongues. We just sat there and said, we'll be here every day. That energized us through the whole project. Our testosterone was at a very high level back then." Groo, any thoughts on Bon Jovi's testosterone?
Yeah, I mean, why aren't you and I the John Bon Jovi and Richie Sambora. We do the same thing. Wait, what? I just wait.
Quick
Pause.
quick cut and edit.
Cut and paste. No, that's Hey, look.
I mean, it's kind of a ridiculous, kind of a ridiculous muse for your inspiration.
Yeah,
for your
but you know what? It's exactly what it should be. These things should be organic like that. They should be based. You shouldn't have to sit around and have meeting upon meeting. What should we name the album? It should really come like it should just show up there. So that story is a great story and it makes perfect sense. And that's exactly
like most strip club stories, they start off organic, like two down on their luck Jewish guys in their 40s with just a few bucks in their wallet go innocently into a strip club, and then some 3 hours later leaving sweaty checking account overdrafted and running to Groo's car like Dukes of Hazzard and go!
I still over $5. Let's get out of here.
It all starts off organically.
Well, it starts off like with it starts off the opposite. It starts off with a plan. I'm walking in with $50 and that's all I'm going to use, and $10 ATM fees later, it becomes organic because we don't know where the night is going to take us. So that seems to be exactly how this album's title was created, and I love it.
Well, the final approved cover consisted of a wet black garbage bag with the words "Slippery When Wet" traced in the water. Quote, Richie Sambora, so simple and not very impressive. The album originally was to feature a busty woman in a wet yellow T-shirt with the album name on the front of her T-shirt. Obviously, Groo, they switched out. Record executives feared that record store chains at the time would refuse to carry the album with an overtly sexist cover. Richie Sambora said, quote, our label freaked out a bit when they saw what we had done. They thought it would be banned by American stores, so we had to come up with something else fast. So Groo, obviously, I think the right call on the cover. I think too many, in all seriousness, a lot of hair metal bands were doing that cheesy, overtly sexual stuff.
Yeah.
Or they did the overtly painted face, devil, demonic sort of symbolism that was so played out. So I think, we all knew what Slippery When Wet, even back in the day, what the undertones sort of meant anyway. So I think, for the most part, they made the right call on the cover. What do you think?
And after the backlash over "Smell the Glove" by Spinal Tap, I mean, they had to go in the more innocuous direction.
That's the one we'll do a watch along. That's the one I'll do a watch along.
Yeah, that's a great one. That's a great one. But yeah, they definitely made the right decision. I would like to see the alternative covers, though. The way you described them sounds very entertaining to me.
You can see it's online. It's online, but it's very cheesy.
All right, let me pause this. No, I'm just kidding. We'll continue.
All right, let's get to it. Track by track listing for "Slippery When Wet" by Bon Jovi. Track 1 is "Let It Rock," written by Richie Sambora and John Bon Jovi. You got the church organ opener, the great anthemic chorus that Bon Jovi is so well known for. Heavy guitars, the ting of keyboards. To me, a great way to kick off the album.
Yep.
It's a favorite.
I love it. It was a Camp Color War song, which is always a good benchmark for us. But yeah, that is like a very good opener. I love that organ. That like church sounding organ opening it, and it's like we're about to, we're entering this realm, and it's a great song. Great song. It's a really cool song.
Would you say that it's a very solid to great Bon Jovi song?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Me too.
Yes.
All right, let's get to it. Here we got some stuff to discuss. Track number 2. You Give Love a Bad Name, written by John Bon Jovi, Richie Sambora, and Desmond Child. You have the iconic chorus opener, rips right into those heavy Sambora guitars, perfectly timed keyboards. Lyrics might be a tad bit cheesy. In my notes, I call this a little bit more hair metal-y, but my favorite Slippery When Wet track to see live, You Give Love a Bad Name, was released as the first single from the album. The song is essentially about a woman who has jilted her lover. The song reached number 1 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100 on November 29th, 1986, and became the band's first number one hit. Again, You Give Love a Bad Name was originally written for Bonnie Tyler by Desmond Child. Desmond Child brought the song back, rewrote it with John Bon Jovi and Richie Sambora. Groo, thoughts on You Give Love a Bad Name?
Huge
yes,
hit.
You do.
Huge hit. Huge crowd pleaser. Great song. No, but I love it anyway. Like, it's not a great song, but it's a blast. Like, there's a difference. You know, like you said, the lyrics are cheesy and the hook. But it's got a hook. It's paint by numbers rock and roll, and when you need that, it's there and it's perfect. And it's like you said, it's a great live track. It's a great.
I love it.
It's a great.
Love it.
It's a great jukebox track. It's it's a Don't Stop Believing kind of thing. You know, we know we built this city. It's the same thing. We know those songs are not great musical masterpieces, but we love them, and this is one of those. You see my analogy?
Yeah, I think You Give Love a Bad Name. It usually seems to fit. It's the times I've seen Bon Jovi. It's usually the second song placed in the set. They have an opener, and then they go into You Give Love a Bad Name, and it's. I agree. It's. I agree actually of everything. Paint by numbers, but it's very pleasing, and it gets the crowd up and running.
Yeah, and like that opening, it reminds me actually of a song that came out, I think maybe a year or two later, by Def Leppard, Pour Some Sugar on Me. I think it's in the same family as that one.
Interesting.
You know? But yeah, You Give Love a Bad Name's a lot of fun.
All right, let's go to track number 3, Livin' on a Prayer, written by John Bon Jovi, Richie Sambora, and Desmond Child. This is known to be the preeminent classic rock track of the album. The opening iconic bass and cymbal line, drums, Sambora on the voice box, which would be featured prominently in future Bon Jovi hits. Great underdog working class lyrics, tells the story of Tommy and Gina. Livin' on a Prayer was Bon Jovi's second chart-topping single from Slippery When Wet. The single was released in 1986. It was well received on rock and pop radio. Music video went into heavy rotation on MTV. It gave Bon Jovi their first number one on the Billboard mainstream rock chart and their second consecutive number one Billboard Hot 100 hit. Livin' on a Prayer, as we said earlier, is considered to be Bon Jovi's signature song. The original single release sold 800,000 copies in the United States alone. And in 2013, Groo was certified triple platinum for over 3 million digital downloads. The music video has had over 640 million views on YouTube. Reportedly, Groo, John Bon Jovi, did not like the original recording of Livin' on a Prayer, which actually can be found as a hidden track on the 100 Million Bon Jovi Fans Can't Be Wrong Bon Jovi box set. Lead guitarist Richie Sambora, however, convinced them that the song was good. They reworked it with a new bass line, which was recorded by Hugh McDonald, uncredited at the time. Different drum fills and the use of a talk box, as we said. 2006 online voters rated Livin' on a Prayer as number one on VH1's list. Number one on VH1's list of 100 greatest songs of the 80s.
Number one?
Yes. In the Billboard Hot 100 anniversary, Livin' on a Prayer was named number 46 in the all-time rock songs. Just think about that. I mean, we know it's an opinion piece, but number 46. That's pretty rarefied air.
Where's Turn Up the Radio by Autograph? Where's that?
That's next week's podcast. The song has 3.4 million digital downloads. Livin' on a Prayer, as we said, Groo reveals two characters, Tommy and Gina, a working-class couple who struggle to make ends meet. Tommy loses his job as a dock worker due to a strike, while Gina, she works at a diner all day as a waitress. The storyline was inspired by real-life events by John Bon Jovi in the 1970s. Quote, John Bon Jovi, it deals with the way that two kids, Tommy and Gina, face life's struggles and how their love and ambitions get them through the hard times. It's working class and it's real. I wanted to incorporate that movie element and tell a story about people I knew. So instead of doing what I did on Runaway, where the girl didn't have a name, I gave them names, which gave them an identity. Tommy and Gina aren't just two specific people. They represent a lifestyle. Groo, I said a lot. It's a classic. Thoughts, my friend, on Living on a Prayer?
Why didn't you just say he was trying to be Bruce Springsteen?
I don't. Well, I'll give you my thoughts on Springsteen later on in the album.
Okay.
I wouldn't go that far, but certainly we know that Bon Jovi was influenced by the Boys.
Yeah. Again, after hearing you talk about it like that and learning so many different things about it, it's definitely a great rock song. The message of the song definitely gets lost in its jukebox aura. You know, I mean, it's one of the few songs everybody knows and everybody sings along and dances to, but it's a very deep song, and I feel like it would have worked better in a different arrangement, and I'd like to hear that original one. I'm going to go look for that. But it's still, like You Give Love a Bad Name, it's an excellent rock song. Is it pure poetry? Is it genius songwriting? No, but it's a blast. And again, a live concert staple anywhere in the world, a jukebox staple anywhere in the world. If it's on the radio, I'm listening to it from beginning to end. It's a great rock song.
Would you agree that is the preeminent Bon Jovi rock song? I mean, if you think, like Billy Joel is Piano Man,
yes.
Bruce Springsteen is Born to Run.
Yes, I was just going to say that. In the vein that more Billy Joel, in the vein that Piano Man is synonymous with Billy Joel. Living on a Prayer is not necessarily their best song, but the one they're most identified with. Absolutely, without a doubt.
All right, good stuff, Groo. Good stuff. Okay, let's go with track number 4. Love is a Social Disease, written by John Bon Jovi and Richie Sambora. Love is a social disease. Certainly one could make that case. Herpes. Groo, what can I say about this?
Herpes is a lovely alternative to what's going on right now.
Cheesy porn opening of women moaning, hair metal guitars with some horns. Besides Richie Sambora's guitars here, this track for me is mostly a pass. Don't have much more to say about.
I love it. I really do like this song. This song to me steps it up a notch.
So you're gonna.
It's in a minor key. It's different. It's not looking to be a hit. It's looking to be a good song, and I like that. I like that about it. I feel like Social Disease belongs on a different album. It doesn't quite mesh with the other songs on this album. It's a little deeper than that. But
not the presentation, and so it gets lost for me. If anything, it's one of the more metally songs on the album. The moaning, the wah-wah Sambora guitar, place that on 7,800 degrees Fahrenheit. The message, I mean, I'm sure he's trying to give some kind of message about love and disease and being careful. Or
nowadays, love is a social distancing disease.
Can we stop? Can we stop with the COVID-19 remarks in between?
Well, I really love the song. I'm surprised you don't actually.
I mean, what I find funny is that you not criticize, but you're like, You Give Love a Bad Name is blah 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 blah. But Love is a Social Disease is a Groo favorite.
Well, I see what you're saying, and I have things that I'm going to say later that you're going to probably have the same reaction to. Maybe, and just maybe, You Give Love a Bad Name and Living on a Prayer, maybe they suffer from being overplayed, while songs like Social Disease you never hear.
Never hear Social.
Yeah, you never hear it unless you choose to listen to it. So you know how some songs get overplayed and you sort of lose your love for them. I give them credit for taking Living on a Prayer and making it acoustic in many cases. But I don't know. There's something about Social Disease, the song, that I really, really like. Maybe it is the moaning. I don't know. you can't go wrong with that. But I do love the song. I can't lie.
I mean, he is a guy that said Rocky IV was a cinematic classic. So
Who, me?
It's a joke.
I
Let's
said
move
no
on.
such thing, and you know that.
I know. I'm joking. Well, here's a good one. Track number 5, Andrew, is Wanted Dead or Alive, written by John Bon Jovi and Richie Sambora. The iconic Western theme opener, usage of acoustic guitars, the ting of the keyboards and cymbals, feels almost like a bit of a spaghetti Western is going down here. Timeless Bon Jovi lyrics. You can almost feel the exhaustion and desperation in the song. Wanted Dead or Alive was released in 1987 as the album's third single. John Bon Jovi has publicly stated that Wanted Dead or Alive was inspired yet again by Bob Seger's Turn the Page. Wanted Dead or Alive peaked at number 7 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart and number 13 on the mainstream rock chart, making it the third single from the album to reach the top 10 of the Hot 100. As a result, Slippery When Wet was the first hard rock / glam metal album to have 3 top 10 hits on the Billboard Hot 100. Considered to be one of the band's signature songs, it is also the theme song for the Discovery Channel's Deadliest Catch television series. The song was certified quadruple platinum by the Recording Industry Association of America in 2015. Another killer Bon Jovi track, a live concert favorite. Groo, thoughts on Wanted Dead or Alive?
Definitely the best writing on the album as far as telling the story. It's a great allegory for being a rock star. And I love how he puts it in a Western framework. It's a beautiful storytelling, great melody. It's a great song. It's not one of my favorite Bon Jovi songs, but it's a great song. That's the thing about all these songs is and Bon Jovi in and of itself, they keep pumping out great song after great song, but the ones that most people love and listen to over and over again are not the ones that I like the best. And this is inclusive of that, but there's no doubt, there's no denying that Wanted Dead or Alive is an absolute classic rock song.
So without getting into a 40-minute rant, clearly you're referring in some form or fashion. Bon Jovi has sort of been played off as lightweight, puffy, pop rock favorites, and they've really been dismissed by the most part. We'll talk about the commercial response to this album later, but I think it's no secret that as a whole, Bon Jovi has been, for the most part, fairly dismissed. Although I think lately, really.
You don't think they've gained credibility with the critics over the years as they've gotten older and changed their style and changed their looks to fit the times, but haven't changed their music that much?
I would say that it's begrudging by the critics, similar to Phil Collins. They're I think the one thing to Bon Jovi is they're the one band that came out of the hair metal era that still stands today. Though obviously somewhat diminished role on radio, on popular radio. However, they're the one band that came out that was able to evolve their look and their sound. And it's not coming. Listen, I love. I would say probably about 10, 15 years ago, I said, you know what, I'm still going to stop the snobbery, and I love Bon Jovi, and I shouldn't be afraid to say it. So I think Bon Jovi is a great band, but I don't disagree with you. A lot of their songs are. A little bit considered lightweight, so to speak.
Comfort food?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but listen, when the time is right, I love a hamburger and fries, and I think
so do I.
When the time is right, a new Bon Jovi album or seeing Bon Jovi live, it makes for a great, fun night.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get to it. Let's go back. Track number 6 is Raise Your Hands, written by John Bon Jovi. That's another good.
Yeah.
And Richie Sambora. That's another one of my Moody favorites. Rips right into those guitars. John flailing vocals in the background. Firm, efficient. Here, I get some notes on the lyrics. Firm, efficient, right to the point lyrics. Another example of those great anthemic fist-raising chorus that Bon Jovi may do better than any other modern rock band. Sambora, again, provides great background vocals in the high register. As I said, it's one of my favorites. Groo, Raise Your Hands.
Great song. Again, Hot on the run, dun-dun-dun-dun, gonna set the night on fire. Prominently featured in what famous parody movie from the late 1980s?
I feel like Hot Shots Part 2.
Close.
I don't know.
Spaceballs.
Okay.
It was in Spaceballs.
God, you love Spaceballs.
Yes, I do. But yeah, Raise Your Hands, another Camp Wayne call song, Color War call song.
All right, can we stop with
Wait a second. The first one I said, you were like, yes. Now you're like getting mad at that. I got to give credit where it's due. And this album is full of comfort food. This is a rockin' song, and that's all it is. It's almost like you hear it, and then you go on to the next song, and you've forgotten about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think,
and that's perfectly fine.
With all this comfort food, I'm going to go on the Stairmaster after this.
Podcast. That's what it is. It's like if you were listening to this song to this album live in concert, you'd be every song is just driving and rocking in its own way, and
there's
none
a couple
of them.
of misses.
And none of I'm just giving you my opinion, but the staying power is what I don't know. Like this is not one. It's a great. I don't know. It's a great song. It's a great song.
Raise Your Hands is a great album cut that they do play from time to time live. It's not a standard, but when you hear it live, it's a lot of fun.
Yes,
it's a lot of fun.
Yes, and I think I've heard it once at a concert.
Track number 7. We'll probably maybe agree to disagree.
We're going to disagree on this one. I think I know which one it is.
Without Love, written by John Bon Jovi.
You hate it. I know you hate it. I could see it already.
Let me read my notes. Well, I know you already. You love 80s schmaltz. So it's written by John, Richie, and Desmond Child. Swinging keyboards with the guitars. The guitars are a bit toned down here. I feel a cheesy love song coming on. And here's what I wrote. Not a bad song. The screaming woe. Yeah, so with this, it's a soft song, so I actually wrote, this might be even a better fit for Linda Ronstadt or Bonnie Tyler or Kim Carnes. It's not a bad song, but I wrote it's not a good Bon Jovi song. That's what I wrote. It sounds like it should be for a female artist or like a soft rock Leo Sayer or something like that.
Leo Sayer, he named Leo Sayer.
I just it doesn't work for me as a Bon Jovi song. It's not a bad song.
All I will say is 1, 2, 3. Dun, 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 dun. Tico Torres with that drum fill there. This is actually my favorite song on the album. I love this song. I don't know why. I can't tell you why. This is the one song I always turn to first on this album. I love it. Yeah. I don't know why. I just do.
I'm getting a visual. You coming home at 2:00 in the morning. From going out, and then putting
going out. If I go out, I'm back by 9 latest.
All right, 9 p.m. You go in your room, put this on. Lights out, get your teddy bear, start sucking your thumb, and
tears
without love,
I'm nothing without love, and love is to get you through the night. Nothing else will be right without. Oh my God! All right, I can't. I love it. It's
not bad, but
it's dripping with cheese, but I love it. It's like this. If McDonald's is comfort food, this is White Castle. No. In-N-Out Burger. This is In-N-Out Burger. It's a notch above McDonald's. Yes, go ahead.
Because you're also a big Bon Jovi fan. I'm not aware. Do they play this live?
Never heard it. Never heard it live.
Yeah,
but I love the song.
Okay.
It's there. It's like Angel from Aerosmith. Same thing. I love that song too. There's just there's nothing like a great power ballad.
Well, okay. I have some thoughts on. Well, okay, fine. Okay. Track number 8.
I knew that was going to happen when we got to that.
I Die For You, written again by John Bon Jovi, Richie Sambora, and Desmond Child. We get the upbeat keyboards, solid Tico Torres drums, Sambora again playing with the wah-wah guitars. I wrote, feels like this song should be in a Rocky training montage. Into the Fire, I Died for You, again heavy with the schmaltz.
Yeah.
Plays well in the 80s, but today I'll take a little bit of a pass on I Die for You. I said in the 80s might fit, but now I listen to it and it kind of I couldn't wait for it to be over and move on to the next one.
I mean, it's a fun song, definitely, but definitely one you could skip if you had to. It sounds to me, it sounds too similar to Runaway. The keyboard riff and the it's kind of like a Runaway retreat. It's still fun and it's still good, but it's like, it could have been a B-side.
They've done that. Like, for example, the bass line in Living on a Prayer they used again for that song Working for the Working Man, which I actually like too.
Yeah.
It's one of their newer albums but they like you said, a lot of artists go back and they steal from themselves later on.
Yeah, but this is still, I remember when I first heard it. In fact, I remember exactly where I was when I first heard it. I was on the lunch line at Sonnequam Elementary School, and someone played it for me, and I'm like, this is the greatest song I've ever heard. Like, I was like, this is the coolest fucking song with that opening, and then I heard the rest of the album, I'm like, oh, that song sucks compared to everything else. But it doesn't suck. It's fun, it's good, but it's passable entertainment. But it's not filler though. It's not on the House of Blue Light level of filler.
Because I do think I wrote it plays better in the 80s than it did today. So yeah, I agree with you.
It doesn't hold up, but it's good enough for the album without a doubt.
Track number 9. This will be an interesting one to discuss. Never Say Goodbye, written by John Bon Jovi and Richie Sambora. Here is where I think we get into power ballad territory, featuring the drawn-out vocals and slow tempo. It is a pretty sharp contrast to the other tracks on the album, which are considered to be much faster hard rock pace. Let's see, what did I write here? Today, this track feels like what Bon Jovi sort of turned into, which is a middle-of-the-road adult contemporary artist. It's got the great chorus. This is certainly the light up your cell phone, hit the lighter track. Slower with more emphasis on John and Richie's vocals. Never Say Goodbye reached number 11 on the mainstream rock chart. Interesting enough, because it was not released domestically as a commercially available single, Never Say Goodbye was ineligible to chart on the Billboard Hot 100. This song was featured on some of the versions of the band's Crossroads Greatest Hits album and is still occasionally performed live by the band in concert. Groo, Never Say Goodbye.
I was in love with it when I was a kid. I think it's a good song now. I still want to know what he lost in the back seat. But I think he wrote this song again later on in their career better than it is here. But it's still, I know I'm saying this about every song.
What do you mean by that? I'm not sure.
I think the themes of it, were written better. Were written about better with better writing and more. Like here, the music sort of gets in the way a little bit. I would have liked to have seen a version of this stripped down and more emphasis on the lyrics. But in the 80s, they didn't do that, did they? This is perfect 80s power ballad, but the message is there. And actually, this was going to be our sixth grade song of the ending the year, and everybody wanted to do it, and the music teacher was I remember her name was Miss Wiggins, and she was like, "Oh, it sounds great," and then she heard that song, "You lost more than that in my backseat." She's like, "Okay, we'll go with Still of the Night by the Platters," But this is a wonderful song. And it's I mean, I loved it then, and I like it a lot now.
This feels to me they did it again, sort of, and I don't want to go over the song, but they place it as well on New Jersey, like "Living in Sin," sort of that power ballad towards the end of the album.
I meant what I meant was the.
No, I'm just saying. I know what you meant. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
No. I'm not talking about. I'm saying they sort of put in that power ballad towards the end of the album.
Yeah, but lyrically, I think he's visited these themes better later in his career.
Yeah, he's like, Moody, we're not going to. Your point is
you're talking about musically, and you're 100% right. Just like they did on New Jersey, and lyrically, I think it's been topped. But that's okay.
Okay.
Doesn't make this any less of a song. Why not? I mean, that's what artists are always trying to do. They're always trying to top themselves, are they not?
Yes. Track number 10 and the final track on Slippery When Wet is Wild in the Streets, written by just John Bon Jovi. It's got that Springsteen feel here for me. Guitars drawn down, keyboards mixed in with yet again that amazing anthemic chorus. As I wrote, this song, as Baba Booey would say, holds up real well.
Yes.
It's probably my favorite album cut, party fun track. Guitars are played here in more of a typical classic rock fashion instead of that screaming style. So it's a Moody favorite. Groo, Wild in the Streets.
It's a Grooey favorite, too. I love this song. This is a blast. Wild, wild in the streets. I mean, talk about an anthem. This is great. I've never heard this live, and I would love to hear it live. Have you? We've been to Bon Jovi together like 2 or 3 times.
I feel like we did, but I know it was on. They did a live album in 2011. There's a live cut of this on. I think it's called Inside Out. Is the Bon Jovi live album? I think it was like 2011, 2012.
Well,
this
is a blast of a song. It really sums up the album. Actually, it's everything you say about the song is like the album. The album is just an absolute blast. It's a party from start to finish, right?
Yeah,
I mean, this was the ultimate album that we would play, and the only reason I say this is because I remember at all of our 6th grade graduation parties, they would play Slippery When Wet from start to finish, and we would love every minute of it, and that's what the album is to me.
Here's where I hear the Springsteen sort of influence on Bon Jovi. To me, this is the track that sort of... Yes.
I could see that.
It's got the guitars are drawn down. You got a more of the keyboards mixed in. It's got the power sort of anthem chorus.
Mm-hmm. Like No Surrender. It's kind of like that. It's like yeah. Good
analogy.
So Wild in the Streets. Love it.
Well, that's the end of the track by Slippery When Wet. So how was Slippery When Wet received? Slippery When Wet was a massive commercial success. Again, we said it produced a string of hit songs, including 3 top 10 Billboard Hot 100 hits, 2 of which, You Give Love a Bad Name and Living on a Prayer, reached number 1, making Bon Jovi, again, the first hard rock glam metal band to ever have 2 consecutive number 1 Billboard Hot 100 chart hits. The 3rd single, Wanted Dead or Alive, again, peaked at number 7, making Slippery When Wet the first hard rock glam metal album to have 3 Billboard Hot 100 hits. The album peaked at number 1 on the Billboard 200, making Bon Jovi's first number 1 album in the United States. The album spent 38 weeks inside the top 5 of the Billboard 200, including 8 weeks at number 1. It is the best-selling album of 1987 in the United States, and eventually reached diamond certification by the Recording Industry Association of America. Current sales stand at 12 million copies, making it the 48th best-selling album in the United States. The album is ranked 44th in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's list of definitive 200 albums of all time.
Now, is that the highest-ranked Bon Jovi album?
I don't know.
That'd be interesting.
I imagine so. I imagine so. However, Groo, contemporary reviews are mixed at best. In 1990, Rolling Stone, Jimmy Gutterman thoroughly berated the band and the album. John Bon Jovi and his band can serve up condescending sentiment, reducing every emotional statement to a barefaced cliche, either because they think that's all their audience can comprehend, or because that's all they can comprehend. On Slippery When Wet, Bon Jovi sounds like a bad 4th-generation metal, a smudgy Xerox of Quiet Riot.
I love Quiet Riot.
So Rolling Stone unfavorable. The Village Voice gave it a B-. Poor reviews to be expected, Groo, right? I mean, mainstream rock critics, at least back in the day, were not kind to Bon Jovi.
Yeah, but this is not Shakespeare's version of rock and roll. This is fun. This is a party, and if you're looking for these, did you say one of these guys was from Rolling Stone?
Yeah, yes, the guy.
Rolling Stone
he gave it an unfavorable review.
Yeah, Rolling Stone is notorious for being really high on Springsteen, and I could see someone looking at this and being like, "This is a Springsteen wannabe." I could certainly see somebody having negative feelings about it in that way. To me, they're two completely different things. And I disagree with the assessments there. I understand them, but that's not my opinion.
Where do you see Bon Jovi?
What do you mean, where?
I mean, where, as we start to wind down, final thoughts.
All right, I'm glad you asked, because Bon Jovi is one of those bands, like you said before, it emerged from the 80s. It really was the one that survived as far as still being able to punch out hits and radio play and stadium tours, while most of their contemporaries, like a Def Leppard or Poison or even Motley Crue, always seem to have to team up with other acts to draw fans, and they're not really known for their original content anymore, while Bon Jovi continues to. And that leads me into what I'm about to tell you is that I actually found 14 songs that Bon Jovi recorded. 13 of them were after Slippery When Wet. One was before, but they're 14 songs that I think are better than anything on Slippery When Wet. Now, before I name those songs, because I want your opinion on the whole batch, not on each single one, but I still think that Slippery When Wet is their best album, because to me there's not a dud on there. Every song is at least good. Even the one that you did, that we both didn't really like, I Die For You, but it's still good. There's not a dead spot on the album. But here are the songs that I put on my list that I think are all each of them are better than every song on Slippery When Wet. Blood on Blood, Captain Crash, It's My Life, In These Arms, This Is Our House, Born to Be My Baby, Just Older, Always, Bed of Roses, Lay Your Hands on Me, I'll Be There For You, Bad Medicine, You Want to Make a Memory, and the one before Slippery When Wet, Runaway. I found all those songs and I was like, I like these songs better than anything on Slippery When Wet, but I still give Slippery When Wet the pound for pound best Bon Jovi album. But I give Bon Jovi an incredible amount of credit for still being able, because look at that, all those 13 of those songs were after their biggest hit. That's unheard of. Everybody wants to hear the old stuff. Everybody, for most people, we don't want to hear your new stuff. Play the old stuff. When you and I went to see Bon Jovi down here in Florida on the Crush tour, we were just as enthralled by the songs from that album as we were Living on a Prayer and all that stuff. We loved hearing the new stuff, and that's unheard of for an 80s hair metal band to be able to pull off. So
what are you asking me?
I'm not asking you anything. I'm answering your question. I think Bon Jovi is way up there in the pantheon of our greatest rock artists.
Throw out Runaway. Let me hear. I'm going to give you couple of quick hitters on each song, but throw out Runaway because it was before.
Okay, all right.
Before, so give me. It was before Slippery When Wet. Give me the first one.
Blood on Blood.
Great song.
Captain Crash and the Beauty Queen from Mars.
That is a great newer Bon Jovi song.
Yeah, It's My Life.
Hasn't aged quite as well for me.
Okay. In These Arms.
little schmaltzy. I could take it or leave it.
Okay, This Is Our House.
Very schmaltzy. It's that's NBA timeout. Get the crowd pumped up.
All right, okay.
But no real creative.
Okay.
It's.
I don't know.
Simple,
It gets me going. I don't know why, but Born to Be My Baby.
I do think that's one of their better tracks from their hair metal era.
Okay, Just Older.
Good song. Good song. Good song, especially for the older crowd. Actually.
Okay. Always.
Interesting. I think initially that song got kind of played off as just a sort of cheesy adult contemporary, but I think it's aged well and almost operatic, if you will. Not a bad song. I don't know if
I think it would have been received better if it was on an album. I think it was the one new track on their Crossroads album, if I remember correctly. Well, it was
supposed to be, I think, originally supposed to be on the movie soundtrack, Romeo is Bleeding. That's
okay. And that's the first line of that song is "This Romeo is bleeding."
Thank you.
All right. The next one, "Bed of Roses."
That's a good song.
Come on.
That's a great
song.
Fun song live as well.
Yeah. "Lay Your Hands on Me." I'm guessing you'd put that in the "This Is Our House" category.
No, it's a cut above. I have to really lay your hands on me. That's a good song. Maybe that one could have been reworked in a little bit of a different fashion. It still comes across as a little bit hair metal-y, so to speak, but a solid Bon Jovi song. I don't know if I put it better, but it's a good song.
Okay. I'll Be There For You.
Schmaltzy.
Bad Medicine.
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Schmaltzy too, but I fall for it. It's, you know what I mean? It's like, it's coming, and I fall for it every time. I don't think it's of lyrics of note, or it's not changing the world, but every time it comes on, or if it played live, I'll get out of my seat and boogie down.
Yeah, me too. And this last one is actually a song. The first time I heard it, I played it over and over and over and over again. And that's "You Want to Make a Memory." I want to hear what I heard that. I want to hear what you think about the song.
I likes boys.
Jesus Christ.
Listen, they got a lot of great songs. I mean, if you're talking about newer Bon Jovi's, Lost Highways, I'm a fan of. That's one that I really, really enjoy. And that's a good song. That's a good song. I think that was sort of when they were in their country music kind of deal. I think that they were, that was that one album where they did a couple sort of country-ish,
yeah, but this doesn't have a country feel though. And this seems like a generic love song that Bon Jovi would put out, but it's not. This song is about him and Richie Sambora. If you look at the lyrics, it's really well written, and I just I love that about it. This is what I meant by the "Never Say Goodbye" written better later on. This is the song I was kind of referring to.
This is almost like Bon Jovi's "A Clockwork Orange." Maybe.
Oh. Maybe, but yeah, I absolutely love that song. But I have one more question for you though.
Go ahead.
And the only the reason I waited for it is because it's not technically a Bon Jovi song; it's a John Bon Jovi song. Can you compare "Blaze of Glory" to "Wanted Dead or Alive"?
Sure, but it's "Blaze of Glory." It's if it's like the Big Mac and a Whopper, it's a great song, and quite honestly, I don't care if he lifted from himself or lifted from Bon Jovi. It's a great track, and it's one every time I listen to it. I listen through it all the way through. If I hear it during a workout, it's going to pump me up a little bit. I love the song.
So do I, and the reason I asked is because I think I like it a little better than "Wanted Dead or Alive."
Possibly.
I know that's heresy in some phase, but
John Bon Jovi's put out, I think, 2 solo albums. One of them I actually liked. I think it was called Midnight in Chelsea. It had a couple of good tracks on it. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting debate, just where Bon Jovi falls. Critically, we sort of know where they fall. Commercially, they've just been a massive success.
Yeah, I mean, think of the 14 songs I just mentioned that are not on their biggest selling album. And that should, I think that's just scratching the surface. So it's like, I remember when I saw Bon Jovi live for the first time. I think that was the one that you were supposed to come to, but you couldn't make it for some reason. So I think I went alone, and it was my first time seeing them. It was at Giant Stadium, and this was one of those moments where I was like, oh my God, I can't believe how many great songs this band has. I never realized it. And they're legends. They're absolute legends. And there's no other way.
Did you mention This House Is Not For Sale? Was that on your list as well?
No, I said This Is Our House.
Okay.
Different song.
I actually love This House Is Not For Sale.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't looking up. I was thinking from my head. So there are probably others that might go on this list if I were to really look at their discography. But I just wanted to give you songs that I knew in my head that I liked better than really anything on Slippery When Wet. That takes nothing away from Slippery When Wet.
Well, Groo, Slippery When Wet kicked it all off. Bon Jovi was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2008 by none other than the king of all media, Howard Stern. Long time coming from the band. So we've sort of wrapped it up, but I'll give you the floor one final time. When it's all said and done, Bon Jovi, any final thoughts?
Yes, Bon Jovi is one band that keeps delivering album upon album, tour upon tour. They never go away. They might have some personnel changes. I'm hoping that Richie Sambora comes back because there's definitely something missing there.
Do you think he'll ever come back?
Yeah, I'm sure he will. When he runs out of money. I mean, what's he doing? Unless both sides have been very, very quiet about why Richie left, but I imagine he will.
I mean, hasn't John said that basically Richie didn't want to tour and they wanted to, he wanted to be home with his family and they wanted to still.
Eventually, that'll wear off. Especially now. Are you kidding me? You think Richie doesn't want to get out on stage right now with all this shit? But I do think he'll be back. But whether he is or not, whether he does come back or not, it takes nothing away from the band's past, present, or future, because the heart and soul of the band has always been John Bon Jovi, and he keeps pumping out great music. He really does. You got to hand it to him. He's fought through all the Springsteen comparisons, all the comparisons they've made his band to other 80s hair bands. He's just fought right through it, and he keeps defying the odds. And like you said, 100 million whatever fans can't be wrong. They still fill stadiums.
Yeah, I think that they had a new album scheduled that might have been now pushed back.
Yes.
It was called Bon Jovi 2020. I think
yes.
was the working title.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, the only thing is it really, over the years, it definitely has become the John Bon Jovi band, where it was more of a group of friends making music, hanging out in the 80s than it is now. Now it's like John Bon Jovi and the people behind him. But that's kind of natural. I mean, the band is.
I was just going to ask you, doesn't that sort of how? I don't want to get into every artist, but isn't that a lot of bands and a lot of solo acts? They end up with a lot of hired hands, and they still churn it out, whether or not it goes on to mainstream radio. That's another story.
But as long as the music is still quality, who cares? It still works, and I'm a huge Bon Jovi mark. Keep it up.
All right. We'll leave it there. Groo, let's take a look at next week's show on Saturday, April 25th. And given actor Brian Dennehy's death of Tommy
this is our tribute show now.
The Nothing Worthwhile crew will delve into the life and times of one Chris Farley We will talk about his rise to fame as a cast member of Saturday Night Live, his mixed filmography, including the ever-loved Tommy Boy, until his eventual death in 1997. Groo, thoughts on Chris Farley?
Very interested to hear how you present this topic, and I will definitely have a lot to say about, because I remember the day he was hired on Saturday Night Live. Him and Chris Rock were hired together, and I remember the actual live announcement. And looking at the guy, I remember I'm like, oh, this guy won't be anything. And then that first episode, you see right away how incredibly funny he was, and he had some home runs and had some massive strikeouts, just like anybody, really. So it'll be a fun episode, and it'll be a little melancholy. Tommy Senior and Junior are now gone, so it's it'll be a little melancholy. But I'm sure there'll be a lot of talk about what might have been, and comparisons to Belushi and all that. But we'll save it for that. But I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, he certainly left a lasting impression. That's next Saturday, April 25th. The Life and Times of Chris Farley. Groo, you want to take us out of here?
Well, wait a second. Don't we have another one scheduled after that? Don't we have another?
I want to only promote next week.
All right. Okay. All right. I got.
I've made that executive decision. I want to promote.
No, I understand.
One week at a time.
I understand.
We have we do have a couple of topics. I think some juicy ones to tear into, but I think for now, April 25th, Chris Farley.
That's where we'll leave it. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to Nothing Worthwhile with Moody and Groo. It's been our pleasure, and we'll be seeing you next week. And until then, I give you 1, I give you 2, I give you 3. Let's rip 'em.
Wash your hands. Wah, wah.